Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Disney Plus brand new animated series brought to us by Marvel Animation, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, the full season review. First season is in the books. Thank you for joining me for this review. Let me start off by saying we're doing things a tad bit different today. I'm having technical issues and I could not record for the past couple of days. I've been stressing out, going insane because I couldn't get this review out. But I'm attempting to do this a different way. Hopefully this works. Hopefully I come through clear and coherent and we can get through this review without any hiccups. And so this show, the reason I was stressing out, because I wanted to talk about this so bad. I was super excited for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and I couldn't wait week to week to get brand new episodes of this show. This is from Jeff Tramiel, who is the show creator, the showrunner, and a new, fresh take on Spider-Man, yet a different take. This was an excellent, excellent show. This is what Marvel needed. And I know once Marvel always puts out a brand new property, no matter what it is, and it's somewhat pleasing to your senses, we always say, oh man, we needed this. Marvel needed this, which is true. But this is for real. I think this was the best content to come out of Marvel since, well, let me say this. X-Men 97 was the best content to come out, but this is very, very close. It's not X-Men 97 great, but it's still good. Really, really good. Animation has been knocking it out of the park. What If aside, I didn't care for the last season of What If, but X-Men 97 and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, just beautiful. Chef's kiss to these two animated shows. Live action, oh boy, we talking hit or miss all over the place when it comes to the live action Marvel productions. I don't care if it's Disney Plus shows or movies as of late. I made it known I'm not the biggest fan of Captain America Brave New World. I don't hate it, but I was expecting more and I didn't get it. But at least I can go home after leaving the theater from watching that, and I can sit down, turn on Disney Plus, and watch your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. This is the 12th TV show to come out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it is a show that explores Peter Parker's origin story, something that we haven't gotten in the MCU. When we picked up with Spider-Man, it was in Captain America Civil War, and he was already Spider-Man. He was already out fighting crime and with the little homemade uniform or suit that he created and with the hoodie and whatnot. Cool. So we didn't get that. We never saw Uncle Ben. We didn't know how he was bitten by the spider and all this here. And so this animated show kind of touched in on some of those things that we didn't get to see with the Spider-Man in our live action universe starring Tom Holland, which didn't bother me in the least bit. Everybody knows the origin story of Peter Parker as Spider-Man. He was bitten by the radioactive spider. He developed his spider's abilities, can climb walls. He developed his own web shooters. Tobey Maguire aside, and he was able to he had superhuman strength and whatnot. So all the spider powers were granted to him. And so we all know that. And Uncle Ben gets shot, but before he gets shot, he says, with great power comes great responsibility. Now Peter Parker has this charge that was given to him, and he go forth in the Marvel Universe as Spider-Man, one of the best superheroes of all time. Well, this go around, we don't get all of that. We still haven't gotten an Uncle Ben. So there's that. But I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Didn't need him. We honestly didn't need him. Uncle Ben had already passed away. When we first open up in this series, we see that Peter Parker haven't gained his powers yet. He's living with his Aunt May. His parents are gone and whatnot. And we're going to circle back around to that. And the first episode, which I reviewed the first 2 episodes of this series. If you want to hear my reviews of those 2 episodes, go back and find those. But I loved how they showcased that Peter Parker, before he got his powers, he was still a hero. He still had courage in that fight with Doctor Strange and that symbiote in front of the school. I thought that was a great, great touch. That it wasn't the powers that made him a superhero or a courageous individual. It was him. It was already there. All that radioactive spider did was amplify it. But getting back to the show, this was just a well-paced show, very intriguing show in the sense that this isn't our Tom Holland MCU Sony Spider-Man. This is a different universe. This is a different timeline, if you will, from the Peter Parker that we know. It's the same Peter Parker, but a different timeline. And there are vast differences between this Peter Parker and the one we know portrayed by Tom Holland. Norman Osborn is around. We have Peter Parker going to a different school due to the events that took place in that first episode involving Doctor Strange and that symbiote. And he has a different set of friends. He encounters a different set of villains, and new villains are introduced. It's a different vibe. Yet it's still Spider-Man. It's still the Spider-Man that we know and love, especially if you read the comics growing up. It is like the pages coming to life. And that's a testament to the animation style. The animation was very reminiscent of comic book panels. And with the style that they're drawn in and the motion and the way it was cut and edited, I thought it was beautifully displayed throughout the show. We know in the MCU that it was Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. himself. He's the one who discovered Peter Parker and took him on this journey, eventually becoming an Avenger and fighting Thanos, going on different planets and whatnot. But in this show, it was Norman Osborn who took Peter Parker under his wing and then eventually found out that he was Spider-Man and was the guy in the chair. Now, initially, I was kind of thrown off by that because I wasn't 100% sold on this turnaround that we were getting from Norman Osborn, because that's his deadliest foe, if you will. Well, that's not the right term, because that's really Venom, but this is his greatest adversary. That's what I was looking for. His greatest adversary. And it was kind of jarring to see Norman Osborn helping him out. But we knew that there was some sinister undertones there, because it's Norman Osborn, and he was played beautifully by the great Carmen Domingo. I loved his voice acting here. Carmen Domingo, if you watched him in anything, he just has that distinct voice pattern, that speech pattern that that's him, And at first, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. But as the character grew throughout the series, I was 100% sold. Completely enjoyed it. I love his character because you don't know what angle he's playing. You know he's bad because he's Norman Osborn. You know that there's something brewing there. Even when stuff is revealed later on in this show, with him taking blood from Peter and trying to develop more Peter Parkers, if you will, more Spider-Man, if you will, and stealing the technology from Otto Octavius. That was great. I like that, and you know that he's up to something, but still you're sympathetic to him. You're still kind of skeptical if he's really bad because he hasn't shown the evilness yet. I guess we're going to get that in season 2. I still think that it was a genius move to kind of take this show in a different direction, give us a fresh story, a new story with familiar characters, yet keep the essence of Spider-Man, keep the essence of the MCU still there, and making this more of an completely engaging watch. I was so engaged with this show. Never did I get bored. Never did I get uninterested in any story that was being told throughout this series, because it wasn't just Peter Parker's story that was being told. We got probably the story of this season with Lonnie Lincoln, who we all know in the comic books is Tombstone, another villain in the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery. I never was a Tombstone guy. I never really looked at him as a super threat to, I didn't follow him. I'll put it that way. He could be super menacing in the comics and other medias, but I just wasn't connected to Tombstone. I always liked Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Doc Ock, and your typical Sinister Six characters, Rhino and so on and so forth, Kraven the Hunter and all this here. But I never really got into Tombstone. I am now. I am so invested now. And this was the most heartbreaking story you can ever tell in an animated series. This was heartbreaking to see Lonnie, who is probably the best guy you could ever meet. You was expecting going into this that Lonnie was a jock. He was going to pick on Peter. He was going to be that guy. He was going to be the Flash Thompson of this show. No, man. He was just a downright pure to the soul good guy, and went down this wrong path, but did not go down this path voluntarily, or voluntarily, but he was kind of forced into it to save his brother, to join the 110th Street Gang, to keep his brother out of the 110th Street Gang, and to make that sacrifice and still try to be a good guy, even to the end, when he's exposed to that Lord, what was it? I can't even remember. I'm blanking now. It was the same way that he got his abilities in the comics. In case you don't know his abilities, he has hardened skin, unpenetrable. He's Tombstone, man. It's like he's bulletproof and everything. He's like a block of granite, without being Ben Grint, but he still keeps his human features. But anywho's, even after he got his abilities and helped Spider-Man defeat Scorpion in this series, I thought, man, is he going to turn now? But he still hadn't quite turned, even though he is now the leader of the gang. But he's still somebody who's likable, and is going to break your heart when he fully makes that turn, I'm assuming, in season 2. And man, it sucks. It really sucks. I brought up Scorpion. Scorpion, another villain in the Rogues Gallery that I wasn't super into. I respected him, but I wasn't super into. Man, they had Scorpion in this show. One of the greatest villains that Spider-Man ever faced. First and foremost, the first time they linked up, Scorpion beat the piss out of him. He whooped him an inch within his life, man. It wasn't even close. And the second time they linked up, the final time when the final climactic fight, I love the way they showed that Spider-Man still has a form of PTSD from the butt whooping he got the first time. He was scared to death. He didn't know how to fight him, and it was through the advice of Norman Osborn, who pretty much told him, "Man, you got to let loose. You can't hold back. With great power comes great respect." See, they put a little spin on the famous tagline, and Peter was about to kill him when he finally got the upper hand on Scorpion. He was about to kill him, but and Tombstone stopped him, which adds to my point that Tombstone at the end of the day is still a good guy. But Scorpion, great villain throughout this show. But they did a good job of introducing a majority of the villains. We saw a version of Rhino. We saw a version of Dr. Connors. In this series is a woman who's missing the arm. We saw a version of Octavius, like I said. Of course, Norman Osborn. Harry Osborn was introduced. A lot of them were introduced here. Little Easter eggs throughout the series. We'll be here forever. And I don't have the time on this device to go through everything. Like I said, just to remind y'all, I'm doing this kind of makeshift today. But yeah, it was cool to see the introduction of all of these villains and all of them being connected to Spider-Man in some shape, form, or fashion. But not only Spider-Man, but Peter Parker as well. And it's just like the comics. That's nothing new. And that's what I enjoyed about it. It's nothing new, but yet and still, it's still fresh and fun. And I enjoyed it. I just love this show. Love the voice acting. I love the voice cast, I should say. I love the animation. I love the stories that were being told. I love the fact that we were left with a cliffhanger. I love the fact that this was kind of a circle of a season. How we got the origin in the beginning, but we got an even deeper origin to find out where that spider came from. It came from Peter. Doctor Strange returned at the end, or was it the second to last episode? But anyway, he had to fight with the symbiote, and he opened up a time portal, and it was the same time portal from the first episode. And that spider that Norman Osborn created to try to create more Spider-Men is the one that bit Peter Parker in the past. And so it was the same spider. And it's like, wow, there's a trip. There's some type of triple entendre or something. Well, however they call it, whatever you call it, that he is his own creation. He was destined to be Spider-Man no matter what. It wasn't what came first, the chicken or the egg. He just was there. And so I love that. I mean, I actually stood up out my chair, stood up off my sofa and cheered. I was like, man, that's brilliant. Why I never thought of that. That was cool. And yeah, I had a good time with this. This was a really good show. I cannot wait for season 2. Come on, Marvel. Do more like this. Do your live action like this. Can we get live action this intriguing and fun? That would be nice. But at the end of the day, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which is currently on Disney Plus from the good folks over at Marvel, gets a letter grade of an A-. The minus comes in. There were a couple of episodes where it was a lot of expedition and a lot of explaining going on that I felt didn't really need to go there, because we knew what was going on, but it kind of hammered it home a little bit. But I get it. But it just for me, I don't really need all this information. I know, but it's cool. It was cool. But yes, it gets an A-. Excellent job all around for all involved, and can't wait for season 2. But I would love to know, what did you think of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Did you like it? Did you have fun with it? Or did you not check it out and you're waiting to binge? You didn't want to do the week to week like everybody else. But hey, I envy you, because I plan to binge it again as well now that all episodes are on Disney Plus. Let me know, Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for this show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, once again, I don't know how this is going to sound. Of course, I'm going to listen to it after, but if it sounds too bad, I truly apologize. Once again, we are having technical difficulties with my computer, my setup, my desktop, so I'm doing this a different way, but it's all good. We'll get it rectified nonetheless. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.